I think we'll power through. So, snow sucks, but, we should be okay and we should get through it. Is somebody here with me? Who is that without no picture? Is that Fallon?
Yeah, it's me, Fallon. Hey,
Hey, Fallon, how are you today?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Good. I couldn't tell who it was. So you figured out how to work StreamYard, huh?
Yeah, I did. It's pretty easy. It's not too hard.
Good. So Brandy should be joining us soon. So we'll be talking some football. We'll be talking some basketball. We'll be talking a little baseball, a little more collegiate basketball. So a lot to talk about today. How are you doing so far?
I'm doing pretty good. It's a Tuesday. Yeah, I mean, the snow and the cold is slowing me down, but other than that, I can't complain.
Good. Hey Brandy, how you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. What's going on?
Nothing much.
How's the weather out your way?
It's not too bad. It's cold, but luckily it's not snowing right now.
Yeah, but it's supposed to snow, I guess tonight or late this evening. So, everybody needs to make sure that they bundle up and drive appropriately just in case they haven't plowed the streets like they hadn't on Sunday. So, that was a treacherous day. So everybody make sure that they're being safe. So let's go ahead and get into some sports talk. So even though the Browns are not playing, the Browns still got some things taking place going on. And one of the things that we wanted to point it out was Miles Garrett, Nick Chubb, and Joel Bitonio have been voted to the Pro Football Association of America, Pro Football Writers Association, of America, all NFL team. So Bitonio and Garrett are being honored for the third year straight. So you guys, do these nominations, do these votes for the association, does they seem right for these players on this team?
I think so. I think those are probably, the three deserving players on the Browns, that stood out the most this year. So I think, it is deserving, and especially to be able to go back to back, I think they do deserve it.
Fallon, what about you?
I agree. I think these are some key players, and yeah, they deserve this. This is rightfully deserved.
Yeah, I'm surprised that Nick Chubb made it on, even though we know Nick to be a very dynamic back. It seems like he doesn't get a ton of carries. So it's hard to kind of see. And he made the Pro Bowl too, which we're going to get into. But I was thinking that his limited amount of carry, especially as Cleveland went away from the run game in later quarters of the football contest, I thought that they would hurt him and hurt his chances. Obviously, unfortunately, he didn't get the rushing title or anything like that. But I thought that those things would hurt him, but apparently they didn't. So he was voted to the All NFL team. So that's a great thing. Joel Patonio and Garrett are honored for the third straight year. What can we say? Miles is just a beast. And Joel Patonio, he hasn't missed a game in 6 years. So I think he might be going for that Iron Man title that Joe Thomas was going for. But that's pretty impressive. And, knock on wood that he hasn't been hurt or anything like that. So, he's been serviceable for you, out of the guard position. So, I think that's a great thing. What do you guys think about Joel Bitonio?
Yeah, to be able, to play that long without missing a game, just, is so hard, especially this day and age. There's so many injuries in the league. So to be able to do that and, to have the determination to go out there every week, he got that extension last year with the Browns. That's going to be through to 2025. So, I think that contract was well deserved for him. And he's been, playing his role with that money.
Mm-hmm. Fallon, what do you think about Joel Bitonio?
I think he's a pretty steady player at the end of the day. We know we can depend on him. And I think another thing that speaks volumes on this is when you're voted pro, that means other coaches voted for you. So it's something that other people acknowledged about him playing, and just
Mm-hmm.
all of them in total.
Mm-hmm. And don't the players vote for the Pro Bowl now?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. So the players vote for the Pro Bowl. So now it's a vote amongst their peers. Nobody really cares about the Pro Bowl. I remember when I was growing up, it used to be a pretty big deal because they would go play in Hawaii every year, but they would go play after the Super Bowl. Now nobody wants to participate, or it wasn't taken seriously because teams still weren't done with their season yet. So people didn't want, to play because they didn't want to be injured because they were, in the playoffs and stuff like that. So I don't understand. Usually the NFL, usually on most occasions, they get it right. They make pretty smart decisions and stuff like that. But I think the Pro Bowl should have went back to the old format in which they played after the season was over and whatnot, so that players didn't get hurt and they took it seriously, but also have fun too. So I'm not a big fan of what they're going to be doing. I think it's going to be in Las Vegas, and I think it's going to be a flag football competition, which, I guess that could be fun, but to me, that sounds kind of boring and is taken away from the sport because you don't see that in any of the All Star games. They're actual competitions. Like baseball, the All Star game, actually used to mean something. Usually it determined which league had home field advantage for the World Series. So that year that in 2016 when the Cleveland Indians made it to the World Series, that's why we had home field advantage against the Chicago Cubs, was because the American League had won the All-Star game. So I wish they kind of would go back to that format because, even though we didn't win the World Series, we were very close, and that could have been hugely beneficial for us. So we have 5 All-Pro Bowl selections on our team. Amari Cooper, Jack Conklin, Denzel Ward, Wyatt Teller, and David Njoku they were voted in as alternates. And ladies, what are some of your thoughts about some of these players on this team, specifically? Especially a wide receiver. We'll just start with Amari Cooper. Can you talk about a little bit about his value to the team? Fallon, we'll go with you first.
I think it speaks. He's a veteran. That says everything we need to about him. He's been in the game for a minute, so he's reliable. He's gonna show out.
Go ahead. And Fallon, I'm not Fallon. I'm sorry, but Randy.
Yeah, like she said, he is a vet. I was a little bit surprised that he did make, the list compared to what other receivers are doing in the list this season. So I was surprised, but, numbers wise for Cooper, this was, his second most yards that he's had in his career. So it was a good year for him. But just with the other receivers right now in the league, I was a little bit surprised.
I was honestly surprised too, considering, like you said, what other players in the league are doing. I think, a lot of it came from him being one of Jacoby Brissett's targets, initially when they had the offensive chemistry going. So I think, that's where a part of that success for him came, where, when Deshaun Watson came, I don't feel as if he was as successful. He also, had some critical drops at critical times as well. But, I think, it came from Jacoby Brissett being efficient for 11 games and him being a huge target for him that he got that big nod. So, I'm proud of him. And then you had Jack Conklin, as well, who plays guard as well. So on the offensive line. So, playing under Bill Callahan, he's going to be, they have some issues. They have some injuries, but they're still known as one of the best offensive lines, in all of football. So, he's one of those people that are anchoring that line. What do you guys think about Jack Conklin?
Yeah, like you said, I'm not surprised that he made the list. He is, one of the anchors for the offensive line, same with Wyatt. But, like you said, they had a lot of injuries, all the injuries to the center, having to go through 4 centers. The offensive line, is one of the strongest things of the teams. But, I'm excited to see them next year when they're all going to be back healthy.
Yeah, he's an offensive tackle, excuse me. And Fallon, what do you think about Jack Conklin?
Honestly, just following up with what Brandy said, I totally agree. As far as it goes with a lot of injuries, but to me, that kind of makes it seem like you're not so reliable. So if he can just stay healthy, everything will be good.
Yeah, he has some knee issues, which, affects, most of the, a lot of times on those offensive line players, because they carry so much weight and their job is in the trenches. So, we all notice those big braces that they wear for stability and stuff like that. But, he's had some knee injuries, but he's been a critical part of what the Browns are trying to do, especially offensively. And I would say they didn't do their job in Pittsburgh when Deshaun Watson, had 7 sacks. But for the most part this year, they really did a good job at doing their job. And Denzel Ward, I can't stress, how important, he has been to, pass defense and our defense. And, I would say that he was one of the highlights, of our defense. Our defense had a lot of issues, but he's pretty much a cornerback that you don't want to throw to at all. Sometimes there were some issues with communications and, playing zone. So I don't think that it oftentimes, showcased his best abilities because there was a lot of confusion and not a lot of talking and some men getting dropped off earlier than they were supposed to and things like that, disrupting, defensive rhythm and stuff. So I think that Denzel Ward is really important to this team. Is really important that he stays healthy as well. But I'm glad he got the nod. I think that's pretty important as he's I think this will be his 4th year going in, but he's a veteran too, and he's going to be really important to what they're trying to do on this defense. Brandy, what are your thoughts about Denzel Ward?
Yeah, I agree. Like you said, as long as he's, the past few years he's had some problems with concussions and injuries like that. So, as long as he's healthy, he's good on the field. Like you said, with all the other miscommunications on the defense, it didn't look like his best year, but, he did play really well when he was out there. And, like you said, if Denzel's out there, they're not going to throw to his side. They're going to look at our other corner. So, the whole defense just has to be strong as a whole.
Yeah, it's crazy though because you got 2 good corners. You got Greg Newsome as well, who he wasn't nominated for a Pro Bowl selection, but he's played really well too on the other side of Denzel, and I think that them playing that zone just wasn't really beneficial to the corners as well because obviously there were some key plays in which they got beat and in games in which they should have lost, and sometimes that was the difference. They didn't lose that Carolina game, but they allowed a 70, yard touchdown to take place. But, I would say that the cornerback play, is your highlights, and they're coming on strong. And you can throw Martin Emerson into the mix as well. So I think that there is a bright future in the cornerback slot. They can just work on some other slots as well. Brady, what are your thoughts about Denzel Ward? I mean, sorry, I don't know why I keep mixing y'all up. Fallon, I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. As far as Denzel goes, he plays at an elite level, period. He's elite when it comes to man coverage. He's just elite overall.
Mm-hmm. I do agree. I do agree. He's one of the best cornerbacks in the league, and he gets paid as such. Wyatt Teller, who is one of your guards. Your guards are very important to your running game. And, that's why usually when a running back gets a certain amount of yards or, they get the rushing title, they usually buy their offensive line something nice, for getting that rushing title or what have you. So, your guards are very important to what you're trying to do, especially your pulling guards. And, it's just, they're so important to the running game as you try to establish that and get that going. And Wyatt Teller has been one of those stalwarts that's been there. Like I said, you can credit the whole offensive line, but there's just been certain players that stick out more than most. And Wyatt Teller, has been one of those players who's played at a high level for the Browns, and I hope he continues to do so. What do you guys think about Wyatt Teller and his Pro Bowl nod?
Yeah, I agree. Like you said, he is one of the special ones on that offensive line. When he's out there, a lot of the success of Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt, wouldn't be without all the line, but especially, Wyatt.
Mm-hmm. Fallon?
Again, he's kind of the same thing. He just needs to stay healthy. I do question how dependable he is since he did miss a couple games, but overall, if he stays healthy, he'll be okay.
All right, and then last but not least, David Njoku. David has grown, especially this season. He got a new contract, so I don't know if that's helped a lot. Usually when you are getting paid to perform, you usually perform, and he's been one of those players he's stepped out a lot up a lot. He's had a monster catch against Tampa Bay, and if he didn't win that catch, we wouldn't have. If he didn't get that catch, we wouldn't have won that game. But he's a good blocking tight end as well, and he is important to the pass game and as well as the running game as well. So it's very important, the duality of his job. But I'm super proud of him, and I think that he's had a very good season. He's been a target. He's made some impossible catches as well. So he's slowly on the rise to be one of the best tight ends in the game. He's not, Kerry Kittles or anything like that, or Travis Kelce, but, he does attend tight end during the summers when the tight ends get together and they work on being better at their game. So, he attends that. So I'm looking forward to him just being better and better and being a key weapon for Deshaun Watson. Fallon, your thoughts about David Njoku?
Yeah, I think he's great, and I think him with Deshaun is it's gonna be unimaginable. I think they're gonna be a great pair. So I honestly can't wait to see them play together.
Brandy?
Yeah, when David signed that contract for $56 million, a lot of people were like waiting for him to perform. But I think, this season he definitely took steps in his game. And I am, we saw the connection that he had with Jacoby Brissett, but I am excited, to see a full year with Deshaun Watson. And I think, he could possibly be the number one target for the Browns next year.
Mm-hmm. All right, we're going to go ahead and take a quick break. You're listening to Her in the Huddle on WOVU 95.9 FM. We'll be right back.
Redlining, the government-supported racist policy of residential segregation carried out by banks in the 1930s, created racial wealth inequality with lasting effects, still seen and felt in 2023. On Wednesday, February 8th at 7 p.m., join Joy D. Johnson, Executive Director of Burton Belcar Development, for a conversation about the racist effects of redlining on Cleveland from the 1930s to today at the Maltz Museum, 2929 Richmond Road in Beechwood, moderated by Ayanna Blue Donald, former Director of Cleveland's Department of Building and Housing. The conversation will also feature Cleveland Ward 7 Councilwoman Stephanie House and Kevin J. Novak, Executive Director of Cleveland Housing Network, with an open dialogue about building a more equitable tomorrow. Register to attend at maltzmuseum.org or call 216-593-0575. This message is brought to you by the Maltz Museum and WOVU 95.9 FM. Our Voices United. Burton Belcar Community Radio. Learn the skills needed to work in a warehouse environment. Sign up for a no-cost supply chain logistics course brought to you by the Tri-State Access Centers. Students will learn in a simulated warehouse environment and have hands-on practical training using industry-standard equipment. Class begins February 14th. Call 216-987-3537 to register. That's 216-987-3537 or visit tri-c.edu/Olivet Access Center. This message is brought to you by the Tri-C Access Centers and WOVU 95.9 FM. Our Voices United. Burton Belcar Community Radio.
Welcome back to Her in the Huddle with Rachel Hill, the First Lady of Sports.
Welcome back to Her in the Huddle on WOVU 95.9 FM. This is your girl, Rachel Hill, the First Lady of Sports, and I am here with Brandy Fairfax and Fallon Robinson. And remember, you can always keep it locked here on your regular radio dial at 95.9 FM. You can listen to us on the line at WOVU.org. You can download the WOVU app so you can listen to us on the go. And you can always contact the station with questions, comments, or concerns, or just to say hello at 216-271-0959. And hey, George, we see you. Good evening to you as well. Make sure you're staying safe out there. But Brandy, during one of your points, you mentioned Kareem Hunt. Is Kareem Hunt going to be back this year for a deal if they can make it work? Will he be back, or do you think he'll be with another team?
I think it's hard, especially, with it being his hometown. I'm sure he wants to stay here, but I'm sure, in order for that to happen, he's going to want to know how big his role is with the Browns. Last season and then the beginning of this year, his role was bigger than what we saw towards the end of the season. But, I think if they can give him his role back and, bring back that 1-2 punch of him and Nick Chubb, I think he would stay here.
Fallon?
Yeah, I have to go ahead and say there's absolutely no chance of him coming back next season. I hate it because he is a hometown guy, but the proof was in the pudding all last season. I don't see him coming back at all. I don't see there's no chance of us ever being able to save or fix that. It's over with.
You don't think that they can somehow use him as part of the offense with Deshaun Watson as that, that running back that, that screens, because he is a better pass catcher than Nick Chubb. So you don't think that they can utilize him on screens and stuff like that for Deshaun Watson?
No, I feel like they drafted Jerome Ford to replace him. There's the chances of him coming back or even trying to use him is just over with. Money is gone.
That's true. I forgot about Jerome Ford. He just right there like dangling in the wind a little bit. But I'm hoping that there's some way somehow that they can bring Kareem Hunt back and make it work. He's such a dynamic running back. He's that slasher where Nick Chubb is more or less that finesse back, that north and south back, and Kareem is more of that west east back, and he can gash you. He gets in there, runs hard, he gives it his all. And like I said, he could be, one of the players that could really help Deshaun Watson get in the rhythm, because remember, Deshaun Watson hadn't played football for 2 years. So, even to start this season, is going to be a little bit of trial and error. So I feel as if he can be one of those people that can make, Deshaun Watson be a little bit comfortable, help him get in rhythm with short passes and screens, and let him do that work after he catches the ball. But I'm hoping that there's some way that they can go ahead and salvage this relationship, because like Brandy, like you said, he's back home and stuff like that, and you feel like he would want to stay here. And usually that's people's childhood dreams. It might not have been his to play for the Cleveland Browns because they were pretty terrible, but I think that's something that he would want to do, is to continue to play for his hometown team. So Fallon, what'd you say? You can say that on air.
Oh, I am so sorry. But I said basically Kareem, one thing that I think he deserves to go someplace where he'll get paid his worth. I think he's a great player. And I wish we could make it up with him in the hometown, but at the end of the day, he deserves to get paid his worth.
Yeah, I agree, and I still believe he has some worth and value. Even though he's 27, approaching 28, and usually, running backs start to, are not valued as much once they hit 30. But I still think that you can get some quality mileage out of him while he's still under 30. So he definitely deserves to get paid what he's worth, because he came here on a discount. Because remember, he had got into trouble, and John Dorsey, got him here, and he's pretty much been a model citizen outside of that one time where he got pulled over on the west side. But, he's been pretty good, for this team. And I believe he wants to win. So you are right, Fallon. He does deserve to go somewhere where he's being paid what he's worth. So I definitely do understand that. Now, in some more Browns news, offensive line coach Bill Callahan was extended after he turned down the OC interview with the Jets. And so that's the important thing, especially, how he's managed to get the most out of this offensive line with all the injuries and stuff like that. Like I said, I think that they might have gave up a little bit against the Pittsburgh Steelers and didn't care because they gave up 7 sacks. I won't say that they didn't care. They just, had a down day. So, but Bill Callahan, there's a lot of talk about how important he is to this team. And ladies, why do you guys think Bill Callahan is so important? Fallon, we'll go with you first.
Personally, I think he's important because he's going to know how to work the talent that we have. We have a good quarterback. Our offensive line is good. So he's ready to put in that work. I think that's a big reason as to why he actually declined the interview, is because it was a worse offer than what he has here already.
Yeah, and you know what? Ethan Posick, I had to notes about that, but he was important to get Ethan Posick, together as soon, having to step in as soon as Nick Harris went down. So, he was able to get Posick ready to play, and Ethan Posick, has been one of the best centers in the league, and they got him at a bargain basement price. So, he got him ready to play, and every person that's had to fill in, he's gotten them all ready to play until, they went down hurt. So this was, uncharacteristic year for all the injuries on the offensive line. Brandy, what about you, and how important is Bill Callahan to you? Do you think he's one of the most important coaches on this roster?
I do, and I, am happy that he's staying. Like we mentioned earlier, one of the best things about this team was the offensive line and the things that he's been able to do with them since he's been here, especially the past couple of seasons. But, I think especially to have 3 centers go down and to be on your 4th center and, in the games and not look like the Browns were using the 4th string center, that just speaks to the coaching. So I'm happy he is staying.
Yeah, that's really important, as they try to work with Deshaun Watson, that continuity, all being on the same page, that's going to be very important as Deshaun continues to get better, because he's going to have to get better. There's just no ifs, ands, or buts. He's going to have to play better. There's stiffer competition, in the AFC North. So, it's going to be very important what he's doing in his role and getting that offensive line ready to play behind Deshaun Watson, because eventually, and it is my hope, that Deshaun Watson is going to start to light it up. So, you're going to need a pretty proficient offensive line behind him. So, Bill Callahan is definitely one of the most important coaches on the coaching staff. And QB court coach Drew Perzing could take some interviews as well. And I want to credit him to, what Jacoby Brissett did. Unfortunately, we didn't get the wins. There were a lot of games that we should have won and stuff like that. We didn't. But we did have satisfactory quarterback play. So I want to credit Drew Perzing for what he was able to do with Jacoby Brissett, because as we've mentioned before on this show, Jacoby Brissett was supposed to be playing 6 games. He wasn't supposed to be playing 11 games. So how important was Drew Perzing? And, hopefully we don't lose him, but how important was Drew Perzing? And, what do you guys think about the way that he helped develop Jacoby Brissett? Brandy, I'll take you first.
Yeah, like you said, a lot of the games that the Browns lost this season wasn't because of Jacoby. He played pretty well, for the games that he was out there. And, that does speak to coaching, to be able to have a backup quarterback and to be able to go out and perform like that. But for this next season, with Deshaun, I'm not sure too much, how much losing him would affect now having Deshaun for a whole season.
Mm-hmm. Fallon?
Yeah, honestly, I don't really think it's gonna be that big of a deal. Just looking at everything that we have going on, like you mentioned, Brandy, with Deshaun, I think that's gonna make a difference. I don't think losing him is that big of a difference, honestly.
Yeah, I wonder who they could get in there to replace him, though, and develop Deshaun Watson into being a better quarterback and stuff like that. So that's going to be interesting as to who they bring in as your quarterbacks coach, because you already think Deshaun Watson. Would y'all say he was an elite quarterback before everything kind of happened with him, or was he nearing elite?
I'd say he was elite before. He was throwing like 4,000 yards. He was, one of the top passing quarterbacks in the league at that time, yardage wise. So I think he was elite before, in Houston.
Fallon, what about you?
Yeah, I believe honestly he was elite before everything went on. And I think we really, honestly, I understand we got him for a little bit. He played a couple games with us, but we really can't judge his performance off of that. I think we need to give him a full chance to play the full season and then judge his performance.
Yeah, because I'm like, when you're elite quarterback, how does a quarterback coach make you any better?
I agree. I think
That's what I be wondering. George has some comments. He said, Fallon, what did you want to say? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh, no, that's fine. That was really it. I really didn't have anything else.
Okay. George said regarding Hunt, he could envision a contract to bring Hunt back as 1 year with an incentive types of documents to keep him in the running back room. Yeah, that's good. They can, load his contract with incentives, but also too, they have to follow through. They can't, if, it's incentive about, gaining such and such a yard, they can't pull him out the games and stuff like that. And they actually got to use him if they giving him an incentive-laden contract. So, I want the Browns to do right by him if they're going to give him a contract, with a whole bunch of incentives in there too. So, and then George says, I will make every effort to keep Jacoby Brissett, but I know someone will overpay to sign him. And George, you can answer this too. Do you guys think that Jacoby Brissett could be a starting quarterback in this league?
I think, maybe this upcoming season there's a chance, just because draft-wise, looking at it, there's only a couple quarterbacks this year that, are standing out in the draft. And, I think he did prove himself with the Browns this season that, he can be a starter somewhere.
Yeah, he ain't somebody that I think, you're going to have for a long time. But I think that, he's somebody who's serviceable, and I don't know. I mean, he kind of proved he could, but he kind of faltered at some needed moments. He couldn't, complete a comeback and stuff like that, which, is important out of your starting quarterback. They got to be able to, initiate comebacks, and that's just something he wasn't able to do. So I don't know. I think he's a high quality backup, but honestly, he was better than Deshaun Watson this year. So, yeah, maybe he can get a starting role somewhere. Fallon, what do you think?
I mean, I think anything is possible. I say that jokingly, but no. He showed some good pointers, but honestly, I'm not going to go ahead and give him that title yet. I think he's pretty good, but he doesn't deserve that yet.
Okay, so you don't think he deserves to be a starter?
Not yet.
Okay, that's understandable. All right, ladies, we got to go ahead and take a break. You're listening to Her in the Huddle on WOVU 95.9 FM. We'll be right back.
It's time for the 10th annual Celebrity Soup for the Soul fundraiser. Grab your spoons, your bread, and your appetite, and meet us on Saturday, February 25th from 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. at the Hilton Garden Inn, 700 Beta Drive in Mayfield Village. This fabulous fundraiser will be hosted by and Harris. Soup for the Soul 2023 will fill you up with deliciously prepared soups served up piping hot. So good and tasty by some of Cleveland's finest. Dishing out the delectables will be the folks from J. Honda Auto Group, Styling Ray's Culinary Service, along with Chef Eric Wells. You'll find Porter of Hope Haven, Kevin Chill, Heard, WOVU's General Manager, Jay the Gospel Kid, Sam Silk, Mark Lyons, and Nathan Landry. The fun doesn't stop there. After filling your belly, get your groove on with a live concert featuring jazz artist Kobe B, straight out of Akron. A silent auction, door prizes, raffle, music, food, friends, and fun, all in support of the family mission of strengthening our students. Nonprofit organization whose mission is to enrich lives through education, life skills, and innovative programs. Meet us Saturday, February 25th at the Hilton Garden Inn, 700 Beta Drive from 2 p.m. p.m. to 6 p.m. For more information, visit strengtheningourstudents.com or call 216-374-6452. Super Soul is sponsored by Morgan Lennon's, RPM, Popeyes Louisiana Kitchen, the AKA Team, Burton Belfar Development, Jane Honda Auto Group, Hilton Garden Inn, Nexter Media Group, Brendan Associates of Cleveland, Jack Entertainment, Code M Magazine, and WOBU 95.9 FM. Our voices united, Burton Belfar Community Radio.
Welcome back to Her in the Huddle with Rachel Hill, the First Lady of Sports.
Welcome back to Her in the Huddle, WOVU at 95.9 FM. And George did answer that question. He said Jacoby Brissett is a bridge type of quarterback for a team like Carolina and that mess in Houston for Brissett. Even Indy is looking for a quarterback. So, he could find a starting job somewhere, and that'd be great for him. I think, he proved that, he still has some worth and some value, and he can lead an offense for you. So I think that would be good for Jacoby to end up, elsewhere. So, he'll definitely be a quarterback that people have their eyes on if they're looking to fill some, positions and stuff like that. So he could be highly sought after the job that he's done in Cleveland. So, ladies, I wanted to do a preview of this weekend's game. So I'm super excited that we are down to the championship games. So let's go ahead and do Kansas City and Cincinnati first. First of all, who do you guys think is going to win? Fallon, you go first. Who do you think is going to win, first and foremost?
Even though I am a hater and, it pains for me to say this, I think the Cincinnati Bengals are going to take it.
Do you have a score prediction?
No, I have not thought that far out.
And Brandy, who do you think is going to win between these two teams?
I agree. I think besides, even if Patrick Mahomes' ankle wasn't bothering him, I think either way, Cincinnati's going to win. They played, I believe it was like week 11 or 12 at the beginning of December, and the Bengals had won that game 27-24. But I think it'll be a game like that, low scoring. That's what we've seen, most of playoffs so far is low scoring games.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And like you were saying, the key is Patrick Mahomes. I didn't think he looked good. I honestly don't think that he should be playing. He's going to be taped up to, Armageddon when it comes to that game. I don't even know if he'll be able to move, but, I wouldn't risk, jeopardizing his health for this game, because that you're a team that can continue to make it. So I wouldn't jeopardize him for that game, but there's a football cliche: are you injured or are you hurt? And right now, Patrick Mahomes, I guess, would be deemed as hurt, and he's going to play through that, which I wouldn't put him through. But one of the things is Cincinnati is a problem for him, and they, have struggled to beat them. It's been 3 times in a row that Cincinnati has been able to beat Kansas City. For whatever reason, they have the recipe to be able to knock this team off. Joe Burrow, he is, a quarterback, they call Joe Flacco, Unflappable Joe, but also think that Joe Burrow has some of those tendencies too. And we spoke on this yesterday, about him playing with that chip on his shoulder, going to Ohio State and not, being able to start at Ohio State. And he said, I'm still talented, I'm going to take myself somewhere else where they need a quarterback. And, he lit the SEC on fire, and they won a national championship game, which is important. But, right now they haven't been able to solve the answer for Joe Burrow. Kansas City defensively, hasn't been able to solve the answer. What do you guys think about the type of game that Joe Burrow could possibly have against this Kansas City defense? Brandy?
Yeah, I saw, a warm-up video before the last game of Joe Burrow, and the one thing, he just looked so calm. He didn't look nervous at all, and I think he'll go into the game again, like against Kansas City like that. But I think, honestly, Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, I think, they do have the opportunity to tear the Chiefs' defense apart.
Mm-hmm. Fallon?
Yeah, just kind of following up with what Brandy said. I think she touched on all the good, powerful points. Joe Burrow, he's he's a reckon to be played. I can't think of the saying you would say, but he's nothing to be played with. He's a great quarterback. And he knows what he's doing, and he's doing a good job at it.
Yeah, and his weapons are healthy, especially Jamar Chase. The connections that they make, are just amazing. And I forgot the other receiver's name. It's on the top of my head. What's the other receiver's name, Brandy?
T. Higgins.
Thank you, T. Higgins. They have been, the skill positions for the Cincinnati Bengals have just been balling out of control this year. And I think I had them on my fantasy team too. So I did kind of well. Or I think I had Miami's receivers. So I came in third place in my fantasy league. But I think, him and his, nobody can stop them, and Buffalo wasn't able to stop them. Kansas City hasn't been able to figure them out. So, your skill positions are going to be very important too. Joe Mixon running the ball is going to be something that's going to help as well. Samaje Perine, came up big as well too. So, I just think that Cincinnati and their offensive weapons, it's just going to be too much for that Kansas City defense. And I think that Cincinnati is going to get up, and I think that they're going to get up very early. What do you guys think about that? Do I sound right or no?
I think you sound right on point. And another thing I wanted to point out is we're talking about all the weapons Cincinnati has, but what weapons does Kansas City have?
Yeah, I mean, they got some weapons, their running game isn't bad. And, Travis Kelce pretty much is the main weapon for Kansas City. And, nobody can really stop him.
Yeah, all I see is Travis Kelce
on every play. I mean, it's every play. I'm surprised that they haven't tried to run him from the backfield yet. But, he's just an amazing tight end. And, there isn't much that he drops or anything like that. So Travis Kelce is going to be important, for Kansas City because he's Patrick Mahomes' favorite target. But you're going to need more effort from the rest of your skill positions outside of Travis Kelce to be able to win this game and beat Cincinnati. So, yeah. I'm thinking about that too. And then let's go ahead because in our last segment, we're going to hit NBA basketball. But this game that is going to take place between the San Francisco 49ers and the Philadelphia Eagles. What are you guys' thoughts? Who do you think is going to win the game?
I feel like this game's going to be a little mini Super Bowl. It's so hard. I think it's going to be such a good game. But I think, Philly, they've looked so great all year. So I think they'll take the win. But I think, their defense is just going to have to stay strong just because the San Fran offense has so many weapons. So they're going to have to keep that under control. But, I think they'll be able to score over the San Fran defense. But one thing they're going to have to watch out, I think Fred Warner at linebacker has played so well this year. We saw him, make so many good plays against Dallas. So I think, they're going to have to play a really good game if they want to beat them.
Mm-hmm. Nick Bosa, too. Who do you think, Fallon, who do you think is going to win between San Fran and the Philadelphia Eagles?
So I'm actually going to take the Eagles. And I say that because I believe Purdy is going to lose his glass slipper.
So Brock Purdy is going to be shown what the NFL is really about?
Yeah, he's gonna learn this game.
Yeah, but it's kind of amazing what he's done. He's 7-0, with this team so far. Mr. Irrelevant, the last person picked in the NFL draft, from Iowa State. And, he's came in and pretty much, taken, this is the second time in a row that San Fran is playing in the NFC championship. So, whatever. But, they playing my boy Jimmy Garoppolo. I love me some Jimmy because he's so fine. They playing him. And then, what is San Fran going to do with Trey Lance as well? Because I kind of think that they found their quarterback with Brock Purdy. So, Trey Lance might become available too, or you're going to have him backing up Brock Purdy, because that might be what happened, and Jimmy Garoppolo will be, once again looking for another team. So, yeah, that's going to be interesting. But I'm going with the Philadelphia Eagles as well. Jalen Hurts was my fantasy quarterback this year, so I think that it's going to be a good game. I think it's going to be a close game, but I do think that the Philadelphia Eagles will prevail, because I think that they're just hungry and they played hard all season, and I think they really won it. And it was just a few years ago that they won the Super Bowl, but I think that they're ready to come back and possibly do it again. So I'm eagerly awaiting to see who's going to match up in a Super Bowl. But this is where we're at. So we're all going with the Philadelphia Eagles to win on Sunday.
Yep.
So Cincinnati and Philadelphia Eagles will be playing in Super Bowl. Is this 52? Something like that.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah, me either. But we're definitely in the 50s.
And I don't want to I don't know the numerals anymore. Oh, LV2. Yeah. So yeah, I think that's Super Bowl 52. I think.
I think it might be 57.
Oh, 57.
We were way off.
It is a V2. Yeah, I was off a lot. George says, watch Mahomes play, and if it's not Patrick type, don't be stunned by Reed pulling him for Chad Henne. Wouldn't that be crazy if you got pulled for Chad Henne, of all people?
Hey, it might happen if that ankle's not right. He was hobbling around last game.
And he did have the longest postseason touchdown in Chiefs history, starting from the 2-yard line. So he is in the record books. But like they say, after he came back, after he came in and led the Chiefs to a victory against the Browns in an AFC divisional game a couple years ago, anything is possible. So we'll see what happens. But ladies, we about to take another break. Show is flying by. So we're going to be right back. You're listening to Her in the Huddle on WOVU at 95.9 FM. We'll be right back.
Cake is amazing. You should try to sell it.
I know, right? Well, I've actually been testing ways to sell it already, but I need help to launch. Have you been testing an amazing food idea, but don't know how to turn it into a successful business? Or have you been selling your amazing food idea, but just can't seem to figure out how to grow the business? The Small Business Administration, Burton Bell Card Development, and the Center for Food Innovation is holding a pitch competition where you can win funding and in-kind business services to get you going. And if you're interested, you can sign up for 6 weeks of one-on-one coaching to learn business principles, food regulations, pricing, packaging, and marketing to prepare you for the pitch. Register for the information session offered online February 6th at 6 p.m. to learn more. Go to foodinnovationneo.org to register for the amazing food idea info session now. It's time to launch your amazing food idea. This message is brought to you by the Small Business Administration, Burton Bell Card Development, the Center for Food Innovation, and WOVU 95.9 FM. Our Voices United, Burton Bell Card Community Radio.
WOVU listeners, did you know you can call us during any live show? Did you know you can ask questions or give your comments live on the air? If you didn't know, now you know. Call the WOVU request line at 216-271-0959. Your voice is our request. No one says it like you. You're better than the rest. Call us 216-271-0959. Questions, comments, complaints. We want all that and the kitchen sink. This is WOVU. Our voices united. We can't do it without you. Call on through.
Welcome back to Her in the Huddle with Rachel Hill, the First Lady of Sports.
All right. Welcome back to Her in the Huddle on WOVU at 95.9 FM. I'm joined by Brandy Fairfax and Fallon Robinson. And now we're about to get into some Cleveland Cavaliers. So Donovan Mitchell is probable for tonight's matchup in New York City. And ladies, how important is it to have Donovan Mitchell back on this team? Fallon, you go first.
I think it is very necessary. Let's just be honest here. He makes us elite. He's the game changer.
Mm-hmm. Brandy.
I just saw they said 20 minutes ago that he will play tonight. So I think that's good. The Cavs have struggled on the road, so hopefully they're able to get this win against the Knicks tonight.
Yeah, the Knicks are not a good team, and the Cavs should be able to get this win. They did not win on the road last time against the Knicks. They kind of let them get out kind of early and play catch up, and we all know about the road woes of the Cleveland Cavaliers. They had a couple of games at home, so they were able to, unfortunately, have the embarrassing loss against. Golden State. They could have had another embarrassing loss against Milwaukee, and I'm glad it didn't turn to that. So, this is another opportunity to turn things around because we are approaching the All-Star break pretty soon, and that's when, teams are going to go on their runs, and that's when it's going to be important that this team learns how to gel together and play. One of the things is, it, everybody's growth, we talked about this yesterday, everybody's growth is stunted a little bit through the addition of Donovan Mitchell. They're kind of in a win now mode, so they got to go out and do that. And I think, they were there last year. They had one of the best records in the Eastern Conference. They were in third place until a series of injuries and setbacks occurred. So, this team, for the most part, is healthy. I don't think Dylan Windler is ever going to play in the NBA because I don't think I've ever seen him play. I heard he's pretty good and he can shoot it, from 3-point range, but I don't know if I'll ever see that day happen because he's just never played. But this is the time when the team needs to gel together and play better because, in a couple of months, March, April, playoffs will be here. So they got about 2 months, until the time is really, important. And you don't want to have a 4 or 5 matchup where they could be facing a team like the Brooklyn Nets or anything like that because Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving will knock you out pretty quick, and we saw that in Quicken Loans Arena when they came here. It didn't go too well.
Yeah, KD's still hurt right now, but they said he's starting encore activity, so he should be back. And they're trying to figure out if they're going to sit him and wait till after the All-Star break or not. But even with him coming back, the Cavs are going to have to get it together. Like you said, we don't want to play them in a play-in or anything like that.
Because the teams on the East, they're creeping up and stuff like that. So the better ones, are starting to play better. And, right now, you just don't want to match up, that's going to be a bad matchup as well for you. So that's where we're at right now. But, it's a great thing that Donovan Mitchell is playing tonight because we truly do need him. And one of the things, I noted is that the Cavs, play down to the competition at times. And if they want to be a real playoff team, they have to stop playing from behind. You got to get up early and you have to be able to withstand the runs that teams are going to go on. Even, runs at home. And I know basketball is one sport in which the officials, definitely determine who will win. And especially if you're not the home team, you're not going to get any calls like that. We do have a superstar on our team, but I don't really know if he gets calls all like that. I haven't really paid attention. At times he gets calls, but when we're in other people's houses, we're not getting those calls. So you have to be able to play through that. And right now, I don't know if the Cavs are necessarily doing that. So they have to stop playing down to their competition because JB was mad, the other night at the press conference, and like I said yesterday, he talked about thinking that they have it in the bag against these lower tier teams, and these lower tier teams, have been beating them. So that's something that they want to stop doing because they do have a tough road stretch coming up. So after they play the Knicks, then they travel to Houston, and then they travel to the Oklahoma City Thunder. So, it's going to be important that you kind of get some, good quality wins against some poor teams. And today, some rumors that's taking place is Josh Richardson and Doug McDermott of the Spurs could be had for some second round picks. They're good outside shooters who could help produce from the 3-point line. For January, the Cavs are ranked 23 in the league, coming in at 34.8% at 3-point shooting. So, how much could the addition, if we chose to pull the trigger on these guys, how much could they help with our 3-point shooting? Fallon, we'll take you first.
I don't really think they'll make that much of a difference, honestly. I don't think. Yeah, I don't think that's. I think it's something internally we got to work on and just build on with what we got. I don't think adding them is going to do anything.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, I honestly don't think they'll break the rotation. So it's really nothing that'll come from it.
So you like what we got? You don't think? Do you think we need to make any trades? Come the trade deadline, even for a 3?
Yeah, I just stand strong with thinking we got some good things. We just need to build on it. I mean, we have a young team. I understand, like you mentioned, bringing in Donovan Mitchell kind of stunting our growth. So if we just keep working with what we have, we'll be just fine.
Yeah, but I'm not a fan of who we have playing the 3 right now. Not a huge fan of Karras, not a huge fan of Lamar Stevens, and not a huge fan of Isaac Okoro. And I just don't feel like those are going to be players who are going to be able to get it done for us, especially, at that small forward position and, being able to shoot from 3 as well. I feel like the Cavs have to make a move. And Brandy, what do you think about their possible additions if it happens at all?
Yeah, I think we heard rumors a couple weeks ago about Malik Beasley. Now we're hearing Josh Richardson. I do think the Cavs do need to make a trade at that spot just because, Isaac Okoro and Karras, there's flashes of games that we'll see them do good, but it's just not consistent enough. So I think they do need to make a trade there. But as far as like the rumors and the players of who we're hearing now, I just don't think any of them fit. So I'm not sure exactly who they should trade for yet.
Yeah. And that's all about fit. This is a very tight knit team. They're very close. They love one another. They play for each other. So I'm kind of, leery of breaking that chemistry, but this is a business as well. And we do want to win. We want to win championships. And that's why I was about to say, that's why all of us are here. That's why all of them are there, because they want to win the title. So, there'll be moves that have to be made. So really quickly before we leave out today, OSU women were ranked number 2 in the nation. OSU women's basketball, they lost to Iowa last night in an upset 83-72 at home in Value City Arena in front of a crowd of a little bit over 9,500 people. So right now OSU is ranked they still have the number 2 ranking until the rankings come out. But right now they are 19-1 and 8-1 in Big Ten play. So Iowa junior Caitlin Clark, who is one of the top scorers in the nation, had 28 points, and Cootie McMahon led OSU with 21. And then the OSU men play in Illinois tonight. They're in Champaign at 7 p.m. on ESPN. They snapped a 5-game losing streak after a win versus Iowa. The Cleveland Cavaliers are on. I think they're on at 7:30 tonight or 7 p.m.
7:30.
Okay, I'm wondering what's up with all them 7:30 games. And then in baseball, we got like a minute left. But former pitcher Mike Clevenger of the Cleveland Indians at the time was facing domestic violence allegations and being investigated by MLB for domestic violence. And he's very tight with Trevor Bauer, who is going through some issues, on his own as well with some domestic violence, and had been suspended from Major League Baseball for over 2 years. So Mike Clevenger recently signed with the White Sox, who said that they were not aware of the allegations at the time. Will Mike Clevenger still be with the Chicago White Sox? Fallon, will he stay with that team or will they get rid of him?
They're going to get rid of him. This is bad press. Nobody wants that type of coverage.
Brandy, what about you?
I agree. I think he's gone.
Yeah. So it is what it is, but that's it for the show, ladies. So I want to thank everybody for listening. For Brandy Fairfax, for Fallon Robinson. This is Rachel Hill. You listen to Her in the Huddle on WOVU at 95.9 FM.